Hello everyone, this is Pico Entertainment and we are back again, and we're now going to talk football now, and in particular Arsenal and the overall activity during the recent transfer window. We're going to look at the additions and the departures and whether I think Arsenal have really done enough to build a sustained challenge throughout the season. So as everybody knows, the transfer window for the European transfers ended at 11 PM last night. Lots of teams made various additions. There was the usual scramble to the 11th hour as what we usually get of this period, but we're going to focus primarily on Arsenal, of course, and go through first of all the major additions. Now, of course, the one that stands out in particular, the one that was completed right on the dot in terms of the transfer deadline, the one that everybody's been hyping about if you're an Arsenal fan, and that was Thomas Partey. 45 million from Atletico Madrid. Arsenal triggered the release clause for the defensive midfielder. Very good signing overall, deemed by many people. Very kind of shady operations in terms of how the process develops, where you can trigger the release clause and be able to go to the Liga and essentially turn up with the payment. And rumours are saying that Atletico Madrid, they weren't even informed about it. They didn't know anything about the player wants to leave, which is very sketchy because we've known Arsenal have been after Partey for months now. This is no secret, you know. Arsenal have been searching for that defensive midfielder to control the middle of the park, so they know they've been chasing Partey for months and months now. So for them to be shocked that the transfer has actually happened is just a bit sketchy for me. The whole process is very suspicious to me, how you can just turn up and essentially come up with the release clause money and just take the player without the opposing club knowing about it. So I was very sketchy on that, but overall we've still managed to sign him. Is he worth the hype, the reputation? We'll have to wait and see, but I will talk about that more in a minute. We also had Gabriel as well, that we bought 23 million from Lille earlier on within the season. He's made a good impression so far. It's only 3-4 games in, but early signs are so far so good. He's that big tall defender again that I think we've been crying out for, and so far I think he's built a good relationship within the team and set a good standard within the back four so far. But it's still early days, and really we'll wait and see what happens when we come back from the international break. And I think in the next coming up fixtures we've got the likes of Tottenham and Man City and Man United coming up, so I think that's when we'll really see how really good Gabriel is at the back. Also, we know of course Willian from Chelsea. I've already done a video on that previously on his signing. He's made a decent start to the season so far. Again, no real outstanding performances, but no real bad performances either. I'd just say he's done a typical kind of performance of what I would expect from him. I know later down the season we're probably expecting a lot more in terms of assists and maybe a couple of goals. Hopefully he can contribute 10 to 15 goals throughout the season. That would be very good as well. We also had runner Alex Renarson, the goalkeeper, coming in. I think he's now our number 2 now that Martinez of course has gone to Aston Villa. So we'll wait and see what develops there. If Leno incurs a long-term injury, what will Arsenal's goalkeeping situation be if that situation arises? So we look at the notable departures. So I've just mentioned there Martinez going to Aston Villa. I think that was around from 15 to 20 million. I've mentioned before I didn't really blame Martinez. He wanted the first team football. Leno was established back as the number 1, so Martinez has performed really well for the Arsenal in the last couple of months, so he wasn't going to sit on the bench and just be relegated to number 2 status, so didn't blame him for making that move. We've also had Torreira, of course, going on loan to Atletico Madrid. Maybe that was a condition that was in part to help the transfer of Partey coming to Arsenal. And of course we had Guendouzi going to Hertha Berlin on loan. So in terms of those 2 players, I think that was a good overall bit of business for Arsenal just to get them off the books and on loan. They've both expressed a desire not really to want to remain at the club, so if you have players that don't want to remain at the club, then you just let them go and get on with it. So no real arguments on that front on there. So I think those are the most significant changes, I think, in terms of the transfer business that Arsenal have done most recently. So if I was to have a quick opinion over the transfer activity of Arsenal, I'd say it was okay. I think at the very least we've made some sort of signings. That was always the worry for the last 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks is that Arsenal, we needed to do something in the transfer window, and a lot of Arsenal fans are very concerned that we hadn't seen any major transfer activity. We looked at a lot of the players currently at the club, a lot of these players we just deem are not good enough, and we needed to ship them out in order to give us enough time to get enough players in. Now, a lot of people have said, well, you can't just ship all these players out at once and get all these players in, but the fact is that this is a concern that has been with Arsenal for really a season or maybe two. So we've been asking a lot of these players that we would consider deadwood or not sufficient in terms of quality to leave the club for really a last season or two. So who am I talking about? So we're looking at the likes of Kolasinac, Mustafi, Xhaka, Socrates. People say Bellerin, but I'm still going to give Bellerin a chance. I know a lot of people think that Bellerin hasn't performed good enough, but I still see potential in Bellerin. Not a lot of people will agree with me on that, but I still think he's got a really good amount of pace, and I think it's just his attitude and his desire. If you can get him playing and motivated, I still believe he can be a good asset to the team. And I've pointed out in several previous match reviews that if you can get him and Tierney performing well on the flanks, I think it does very well for Arsenal in the long run. So I've still got faith in Bellerin, but yeah, as I've mentioned before, all of those previous names, those are the players that we were really feeling weren't really good enough for the club, and we had to get those players out. And if we done that really 5, 6, 7 weeks ago, then it would have given us maybe sufficient time to go and look for replacements. That's the key argument. That's the kind of prosecution, if you like, against the Arsenal transfer activities, that these actions and notions weren't performed earlier within the season. That's the problem. You can't just wait. That's what Arsenal normally do till the 11th hour and then try and get these players in all at the last minute. You know, a lot of pundits and critics say the winners, the true winners of the transfer windows, are the ones who don't really do anything during the transfer window because they've done their business early, they've sorted out their positions and where they need to reinforce within their squad, and they've done that well before the transfer window closes. So that's what I would consider a real winner on there. So there's still major issues going on within the squad, and of course the big elephant in the room, I've already said in previous reviews, the never-ending story of Mesut Ozil. What should we do with him? Can we get rid of him? If we can't, should we try and play him back into the team, or should he just sit on the stands and just eat away at the rest of his contract and then just get rid of him next season? You know, it's just a never-ending problem with Arsenal. A lot of it is by their own doing, to be honest. They put him on such a big contract and they're not playing him within the team. I do know there's other issues concerning the comments he made about China and the fact that he refused to take a wage cut. Allegedly, apparently he has to play or remain in the squad because it brings Arsenal a certain amount of image rights and endorsement deals and sponsorship money by having Ozil involved in the squad. It's a whole debate with Ozil. I think that's another video. I'm going to wait until the resolution of his status within the club before I do a major video on that. But again, that's another big issue that really should have been resolved maybe if 6 months ago, maybe even the season before. And that's again another key argument as to why I think a lot of fans, despite the late incomings of this transfer window, are still unsatisfied with what's gone on at Arsenal. So that's the key. You know, have we got a good enough quality squad to build a sustained challenge? So let's look at Partey. So if we look at his just achievements or his overall stats, so he is a defensive midfielder. He's 27 years old. He's been at Atletico a long time, I believe, since 2011. He did have loan spells at the likes of Almeria and Mallorca, but prior to that, he's really been a mainstay at Atletico Madrid. And I think he's made around 188 to 200 appearances and he's scored around 25 goals. He's recently been nominated as the African Footballer of the Year. His nationality is Ghana, and he has a very strong and good solid reputation within Atletico. So I think they were very disappointed to have that player leave the club in such really dodgy circumstances, as I mentioned before. Now, to be fair, he is really the kind of ideal player that I think Arsenal have been crying out for the best part, I would say, for at least 10 to 12 years. What we've lacked in the middle of the park is that big, strong, tall midfield colossus, someone who can break up the play, stand tall in the middle of the park, wrestle possession back from the opposition, help protect the back four. Everybody just give them a calming influence if the team is under pressure. That real kind of physical presence in the middle of the park just to reinforce everybody in the midfield. And we've needed that player for years and years. If you go way back, of course, we had the archetypal vision of Patrick Vieira, but even after Vieira, you know, we had the looks of Gilberto, of course, Edu when he was at the club, you know, that typical strong midfielder who's just going to break up the play and just wrestle back possession for the club. So yes, in that type of persona, yes, he is a great signing. On paper, of course, I say on paper because we need to see how well he performs, how well he adjusts to the pace and the intensity of the Premier League, but potentially he could be a great signing and exactly what the club needs. So yes, I can understand very much the excitement of Arsenal fans seeing this player come to the club. So we are now on international break, of course, so hopefully he doesn't incur any injuries when he's playing for Ghana, and then when he comes back we can see how well he does in the long run. So yes, I am optimistic, I would say, about Partey. Now, however, I'm also going to reiterate that I still feel that despite his arrival at the club, it's still not enough of Arsenal. I still look at that squad and I still don't believe that there is enough there to build a sustained challenge. And when I mean a sustained challenge, I don't think in terms of winning the Premier League. Look, I'm under no delusion. Arsenal are a lot of years away from winning the Premier League, despite the fact that we've seen all the top clubs struggle recently. Of course, we saw Liverpool and Man United both get huge thrashings, of course, and City is still struggling. Man City, of course. You know, Tottenham, okay, they've hit a bit of form, but they're still showing signs of improvement required. And of course, Leicester lost recently as well to West Ham. So I would say still a top four finish is the most optimistic that Arsenal could hope for. But again, I just think there were still issues to be addressed, particularly in the middle of the park and also defensively. You know, is the likes of Holding and Mustafi, are they really going to be enough to make sure Arsenal are secure enough at the back of their defence? And I don't think they are. And I would have really liked to have seen maybe one or two more defenders come at the club, and then if you had those arrive along with the midfield presence of Partey at the back, then maybe that's would have made me a lot more excited for the season. So it will be interesting to see how they build on this. Partey, I think he's going to be essential at the midfield, and maybe he can play as part of a midfield three, so you can maybe have Partey just sitting in front of the back four, and then you can have Willoyan on one flank and maybe Ceballos on the other flank, and then you can have the three up front, so you can have Aubameyang up wide, one wing, and then maybe Pepe on the other wing, and then maybe Lacazette in the middle. You can chop and change, of course, because you've got the likes of Saka and Nketiah as well, so you can really mix and match in terms of the front three if you wanted to. So they've got a few attacking options that Arsenal can make more their versatile in terms of their attack. But that's the kind of dynamic that I would expect to see Partey, very much sitting in front of the back four, not venturing forward too much, just offering more protection for the defence. That's what I would like to see in the long run, because I don't think Xhaka can do that, and I don't think Ceballos can do that. Ceballos is really, we talk about this ongoing need for creativity. He's going to be that creative spark if we are going to be. You know, we've seen really recently in matches when Ceballos has come on and he has been able to provide a much more of a attacking initiative, putting players through and creating potential assists. So if we're saying that Ozil is done and he's not going to play again, then really Ceballos is your next best option in terms of that creative presence. So that's what I would expect to see Partey really to be a more solid defensive block for the back four. So we go on again, and I just think if I was going to make any predictions, I still say Arsenal will probably finish inside the top six, and maybe we can get a good cup run. I think we've got Man City next in the League Cup as well, and obviously with the FA Cup, that's really been our kind of go-to trophy, certainly for the last 4 or 5 years. So I would estimate that we get another good cup run in the FA Cup as well, but I'm not really anticipating anything more in terms of a league challenge. So I think in terms of the overall transfer window, I would say, as I mentioned before, okay, we've made some signings. I still feel there are a lot of issues that we should have addressed way before we got to this stage, but Arteta's got a decent team there, and along the fact that we've had I would say a very good start to the season. You know, we looked at the fixtures. I mentioned this before in my season preview, which you can also see on the channel, the early fixtures that we had, and I think we've won every game -1, which was to Liverpool, right? So there's no shame in that, of course. And apart from that, I think it's been a very good start from Arsenal. So hopefully now Partey can reinforce that midfield and we can sort of build on that and continue some momentum, because as I mentioned before, we've got some real difficult games coming up in the long run, the likes of Spurs, Man United and Manchester City as well. So those are my thoughts on Arsenal's activity within the transfer window. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think we've done enough? Do you think we need to do more? Are you very excited by the arrival of Partey, or do you feel that we needed more, especially in the defensive part of our team? Are you still lamenting the fact that we've still got the likes of Kosniak and Socrates and Mustafi and Bellerin, etc., and we really needed to sort those issues out? You know, Saka as well when holding. Do you think these players should be there, or do you think they should have departed a long time ago, giving us more time to get more players and reinforce the lacking areas within our team? So those are my thoughts on Arsenal's transfer activity for now. Let me know what you think in the comments below. That's it for now. Take care of yourselves, stay safe distances, and I will see you very, very soon.